Hello, everyone, and welcome to our event and project management webinar. My name is Anna-Marie. As you've seen me around for the last couple of days, I hope you are enjoying Youth Voice Week. Today, I'll be joined by three special guests. We'll be chatting about helping young people gain access into opportunities in music and the creative industries. They are experts in their fields, and I'm sure they have got plenty of advice for us today. So if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment. We'll be answering your questions at the end of the show and throughout also. So let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what's going on in your day, and if you're enjoying Youth Voice Week so far. We've got one more day tomorrow, which should be another amazing day, and also we have got our Q&As at 5 p.m. on our Twitter page. So make sure you're following us at S Connections on Twitter, Instagram, also at W4M on Twitter and Instagram. Keep up to date with everything that we've got going on throughout the week. And make sure you download our handbook. We've got plenty of advice and information and great content in our handbook that you can learn from. So I'd like to introduce our special guest. So we've only got two at the moment, but first we've got Selena, who is the founder of Lunar Legacy, and then we've also got Errol, the founder of Touching Bass, radio show, record label, creative, multifaceted platform. And I'm very excited to have you both here today. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, really good. Once again, yeah, thanks for having us.
Nice, great. So let's start off with what it is that you do and how you got into your role. I'll start with you, Selena.
Yeah, so I run a music management and lifestyle brand called Lunar Legacy. We launched about a year and a half ago. I come from a slightly unconventional story into my music journey. So when I first graduated, I worked at Warner Records for a couple of years. But then I went and chased the money and went into the corporate world for about a decade. So I've come back going full-time in January, great timing, pre-lockdown, to run my company. But it's been an amazing journey, and we're really blessed because we've built a really strong community platform. We do everything from events through to a YouTube channel where we host emerging artists. We've got a Spotify playlist. We have an online blog. We're building a streetwear brand alongside that. So it's a full lifestyle and music management company.
Great to hear. And Errol, how about you?
Hey everyone, and yeah, I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say. Hopefully it can be helpful for you guys. My name is Errol, as beautifully introduced by Anna-Marie, and I guess the thing that occupies most of my time these days is Touching Bass. So Touching Bass started life in late 2014. It was, before anything, it was just a community and a bunch of friends who just like to hang out, listen to music together. And then in December 2014, myself and a friend decided to make Touching Bass into a party, a monthly party. And so since then, we've been running it on a very regular basis, and it's developed into multiple different things, yeah, and has become multifaceted. So from being just a party, it's also become a bi-weekly radio show on NTS Radio, which is it's an essential tool for anyone who wants to find out about loads of new music. They have no music. It's like a really open music policy. Everything from ambient and drone metal to hip hop to Afrobeat to drum and bass. It's got absolutely everything on there. So we play there twice a month. We also just started a record label, which is as a platform to basically showcase some of our music, some of our friends' music, and people from the wider extended community. And on top of that, we also have a I guess what we call a quarterly concert series, which again just acts as a platform for introducing new and old music to our growing community across the world. And in terms of my start in the music industry, I studied music journalism down at Bournemouth University, and I remember being told, like, in the first year, oh, you should probably wait until, you know, the third year to try and reach out for work experience, you know. That's the way that it's done. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do my own thing. So I cold called a bunch of magazines in my first year, and thankfully Clash magazine, which is a really diverse cultural and music and lifestyle magazine, allowed me to get involved. And so from there, I worked for them for a while. Also worked for Vice and Noisy magazine for a year or so. And then I also went into the kind of like major music world, and I worked for Virgin EMI as a marketing manager for a couple of years. After that, I got involved in Boiler Room as a host, curator, and yeah, just part of the family there. I worked there for 4 years and was lucky enough to travel, put on loads of events around the world, and yeah, that's kind of like a condensed version of my entry.
That's a very interesting story. So people watching at home, ignore my parents in the background. Okay? Is it something, I think events and music is something that's highly looked into, like a lot of people want to get involved in it. But what are some of the difficulties that you might face, especially just starting your journey? What's some of the difficulties that you face?
I'll jump on. We were both looking at
we're both like...
I think for me, it's very much understanding it is a business. I think a lot of people get into it, exactly as Errol said. For us, we started our showcase and open mic night in Shoreditch because the artists that I manage, we were finding that a lot of the industry in London was very tribal. It was really hard to get like emerging artists their first gig. So we wanted to provide that platform first for our own artists, but then as we work through it, to offer that space for other talent that was coming up but wasn't able to get their foot in the door because maybe they just didn't have a mate who was running a particular event that they wanted to play at. And I think you really have to approach it as a business, as fun as it is and as many highlights as there will be along the road. You have to have amazing organizational skills. You need to be able to be flexible. You need to adapt when some artist doesn't turn up and you have to figure out what to do on the day. So I think really understanding that you need to develop those skills, prioritization, organization, being flexible. I think all of those things come as part of the role. And those are the challenges you're going to face. And then on top of that, now in this wonderful new world that we're living in, is that adaptability. You know, I think a lot of people are trying to recreate what happens in the real world online rather than really trying to find new ways of doing things and connect with their communities and assume that this might be business as usual going forwards. So let's find a way to do this in a really collaborative, positive, community-focused way. So I think those are the big challenges that we've got.
Okay, yeah, that does sound like a lot. I just want to acknowledge Enrico Delvez, who's just joined us. He's a singer, songwriter, music teacher. How are you, Enrico?
Hello, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, cool. So since you missed the beginning, I just we'll quickly just talk about your journey, where you started and where you're at now.
Okay, so I've always been into music. I started touring from the age of 17. I think I started the whole live circuit from the age of 14, 15. So I got into it quite young. However, I was always interested in events. I started running events by the age of 19, 20, bringing them out to Canterbury and universities. And later on, I did manage to do my own UK tour in 2013, where I toured the UK for 4 months. Weren't that much of a fan of it. However, I did love providing a stage for our up-and-coming talent of the community. Pursued music a little bit more. I released a single. It was a top 20, 2011. beauty EPs, but again, sometimes the artist side gets a little bit boring because you're always on the forefront. You're open to scrutiny. So the events was something I delved into a lot more. My name delved into the events, and it has been a thing to. My main thing for starting these events was the love of artists being able to network and connect. Because a lot of the times, us as artists, we may feel unconfident or maybe egotistical, and these create a dynamic breakdown. So when we should be having these interactive moments, we just were lacking them. So decided to set up these events, and yeah, it was really helpful, and that's how I even was able to work with you guys in 2016. So I appreciate being able to host your events as well. Then I've gotten back into it as well. Yeah, and I'm just finding the love for it. However, with this whole online performance thing, I'm finding it hard to adjust to. Like, for instance, now not being able to have a solid internet connection and have something move smoothly. I hate the whole fact of it being unstable. So I need to adjust with that, and I don't have too much experience to give you on that side. But on the live circuit, in person, I can do.
Thank you for that, Enrico. But I will jump on the back of that, of talking about pivoting from being live, and well, Errol, I know you do radio as well, and you do events and you do concerts. So how has it been from doing that monthly to now nothing, or just pivoting into going into the online world? I'll start with you, Errol.
It's been so draining, honestly. Like more than anything, like it's just being around my peoples, being around our community. And I guess because we've been doing it since 2014, 2015, we've now built up like a solid group of people that come every time or come very regularly. And so just seeing those faces, having those conversations IRL as opposed to via Zoom or whatever, yeah, it's definitely been one of the biggest challenges, and of course, I love music. And so being able to actually play in a room full of people is a very different experience from being in my bedroom and streaming online to people, and just not having that live interaction with someone is has been brutal at points, but as Selena was introducing, and I echo what she says, everything about the challenges of running a night and running a business. Yeah, you do also have to be adaptable, and I guess that's what we've tried to do. So as you say, our NCS radio show has continued, and that's been a really important portal for just keeping in touch with our community and the people that listen and chime in with our music. We have a mailing list that we put out every month. So that, again, is another way of keeping in touch with people. And on top of that, what I should have said before is that Touching Base also has like a texting service that we use as a means of, I don't like to call it marketing, but just like staying in touch with people, really. So whenever we do our monthly party, we text people. And we're like, yo, we're doing this event on Saturday or whatever. And I guess partly it chimes back to, the vibes of yesteryear when raves would happen and people would only be contacted by a text. You have to go and reach this venue here. But it's also just a really personal way of just keeping in touch with our community. And as I keep saying, it's like the people in the community are very much the blood of what we do, because I love music, but playing in an empty room is like, it's not the same thing.
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine. It has been, I think, a shock to the system for everyone, especially doing events in person. Selena, I know you do your Lunar Legacy events. I've seen that you are coming back, though. How's it been for you?
Yeah, we've had to evolve constantly over the last 7 months. When lockdown happened, we were the first to do an online open mic out of the London open mic event. So we went straight to Zoom, which we were running through our YouTube channel. And it was great because, as Errol has mentioned, we have a really strong community. And I think anybody that's in this industry is really invested in making sure that we provide that platform, especially when we're all locked away and we can't access each other in what is an industry that is very social. So I think, we did that for the period during lockdown. And then when lockdown ended, we relaunched at our venue, Looking Glass in Shoreditch, and we actually started doing our events twice a month, so twice as regularly as we had been, because there was so much demand for it. So we were selling out every fortnight. But obviously now we've had the next change, which is the 10 o'clock curfew, and our venue isn't able to facilitate us anymore because it's not profitable for them to do so. So we're now looking for a new venue for our live events, which we've done in a very socially distanced way. I know some people are kind of very anti following the rules around this, but I think for us it was really important that as much as we want to be in real life, we also want to protect the people that have supported us and that we support. So we need to find somewhere that's appropriate. But at the same time, we're now working on a kind of as live lounge style event that we can pre-film but then put out, so that we're still offering that platform for artists that won't otherwise have access to that. And I think that's really important as well for the artists that I manage. So I manage Nutty P, K. Melody, Fella and Maverick Quest, all of whom, we still want to have strategies to get them out into the world and to facilitate them having that communication with their fans and the community that surrounds them. So it's really about adapting all the time. And I think you can't give into it. It's really easy. When we found out last week that our venue wasn't going to be able to run after the 10 o'clock curfew, I had a good cry. I'm not going to lie to you, for about half an hour. And I think that's part of this experience, is to say sometimes it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. But you've then got to come back more resilient and really work with the environment that we're in. And I think that's the really beautiful thing that we're seeing, is we're all creators. So if we can't find something positive to do in this situation, then there's a problem. So I think, it's just a new challenge, and the music industry is always about change and using the new platforms that are emerging and the new technology that's available to us. So just got to work around it, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you on the big cry thing. Like, I've definitely shed a tear or two with the struggles of trying to find a venue and move forward with live events. Yeah. I just want to touch base on the comments. So I see Grace has left a comment for us, Karis as well. Thank you for engaging with us on the YouTube stream. I will answer those questions in the next few minutes towards the end of the show. So make sure to keep your questions coming for our guests. And Rico, I'll throw this to you. So these two, Errol and Selena, they work behind the scenes, putting the events on. And I know it's something you said you want to get back into, but someone who is actually on stage as a performer, has it been difficult for you to try and get back into that as from coming away from that?
Well, are you specifically saying about the events?
As a performer, the live events. So how has it been for you, trying to get back into that?
Well, in terms of getting back into it, it's we don't have any stages open for us to perform. It's very few. I believe only Box Park is something that has events because it's kind of outdoors. For myself, getting back into it, I am working behind the scenes with a lovely lady by the name of Lily. So she's a counselor and she does these online shows. So she's now starting up a new performance space online. So I'm kind of building my knowledge on that, building a love with that, and also creating more platforms live. But I'm just waiting for the lockdown to just finish, because like Selena was saying, this lockdown is it's not making sense to me. So I've not really found my feet in it all.
Understandable. Okay, so I'm gonna let's focus on the young people. So the reason why we're here for Youth Voice Week is to have a better understanding of how to work with young people, how to give them better opportunities. And this one specifically is catered for the young people who want to have opportunities in music and the creative industries. So what skills, I'll start with you, Errol. What skills do you think young people should be developing if they want a career in this field?
100% resilience, diligence, and again, as Selena said, I'm echoing you a lot, Selena. You're talking the truth. But just that thing of you really need to have, you may be getting told quite a lot. You can't do this. Sorry, this isn't gonna be able to take place here. All these kind of things, and it's definitely about having kind of like, no, I'm gonna do this. Like, this is what I want to do. If it's something that is burning within you and inside of you, a desire to do something and share space with people in whatever event management way that may be, I think you need to follow your heart with that. That's definitely it. And what else would I say? I would say skill wise, you definitely need to be organized 100%. And don't get me wrong, there have definitely been times for myself where I haven't been so, and I've had to learn the lesson of not being organized. And there'll definitely be mistakes. You'll definitely find times where you're maybe uninspired, or things aren't going the right way. But again, it all comes back to that desire and wanting to make something happen, really. What else would I say is like a useful skill to have? I think it's helpful to be personable, to be a people person. We're dealing in an industry where you're constantly meeting new people and creating connections. And who knows, that conversation that you might have had seated on a sofa somewhere might come back, and then that same person is now working at this place who can help you out 3 years later. And so those kind of interactions are truly important. And I think it's important to be yourself as well in all of this, because that in this industry there does happen to be, and I'm being very truthful here, there does happen to be a lot of kind of theatrics, for lack of a better term. And so I think it's really important to be yourself, because that stuff will really penetrate through, and that's the kind of stuff that people will remember, as opposed to any fakeness. That's whack. I would say, at least in my part of the events management world, I'd say it is helpful to also, I mean, I'm a DJ and I run a party, so it is helpful to, be a DJ, learn, practice. Practice is so key. Do your research, especially if you're running a party and you want other people to come and play it. Make sure you're finding the right people. It's almost like I have this, I don't know, I'm an addict. I'm a music addict. Like, I'm constantly finding new stuff, or old stuff even. Not just new music, but also, stuff that helped us get here musically. And so I think it's important to do that research and find out about the music that you're interested in. Perhaps also find other people that are doing similar things, and don't, I think that, there is this element of competition within the music industry, but ultimately, if there are other people doing similar things to you, it's just an extension of your community. So it shouldn't be seen as like, oh, we're trying to fight each other to get to the top, whatever that is, because music isn't even what is the top in music. It's just I feel it or I don't. I feel like a lot of the things I'm talking about are quite cerebral, and so I don't know if any of the others have any more kind of logistical skills to add.
Yeah, no, you did speak on some personable skills. I think everything that you touched on is very, very important. Just as an individual, those are the things that people do need to have. So that's very, very important. So thank you for that. Selena, how about you?
I think I agree with Errol, especially about the resilience at the moment. It's really, really important to be able to keep adapting and changing in this environment. I think a really good example of that, Natty P, who I manage, is very established as a producer. He's produced for the likes of Gets, Cass is Dead.
Beeping on your end? Oh wait, it stopped. No. Okay, never mind. Continue.
He's really established as a producer. Gets, Wretch Free 2, Cass is Dead, people like that. But he wasn't an artist or recognized as an artist in his own right pre-lockdown. He's used this time to really push his career forward in that way. So, you know, we put out 10 singles this year. His next 2 singles that he's produced are with Ocean Wisdom and Wiley's first single after him being cancelled. So we've really taken the time to adapt that and find a new strategy and put him in front of new audiences. And I think that's a really important attribute, is to really work on that, to think about how can you make moves when there are roadblocks in your way. I think the other thing I'd say is I did not come through the traditional music industry route. I had the opportunity to do it, but I stepped out of it. And I think in this situation, for a lot of young people, you're going to find there aren't those obvious first steps into the industry. I think there's 2 really clear things that you can do in this time. One is to develop transferable skills. Go do whatever job it is that you think, whether it's project management, whether it's business administration, entrepreneurialism, learn about how businesses work, understand what you will need when you get into that space and are able to do the things you're really passionate about. That's what I spent 10 years doing, really, was learning in the corporate world, which I now apply to my own company that I founded. And then I think the other part of it is there's loads of opportunities right now that are unconventional. Lots of people are starting new, you know, they're founding businesses because they're furloughed or they're unemployed or whatever it is. There's a million blogs that you can go and write for. Talk to us, Lunar Legacy. But there's real opportunities here to learn new skills that you can then take into the real world when we come out the other side of this. And if we don't come out the other side of this into the world that we were in before, learn about the technology, learn about what's possible. Things like this webinar give you an opportunity to really think about what elements of the industry you want to be involved in, and then learn the skills that you need to do it. And don't just feel demoralized that it isn't quite how you'd imagined it, because it never is. We're always moving around into different spaces.
Thank you for that answer, Selena. And Enrico, how about you? What skills do you think young people should be developing if they want to get into the industry?
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to say Errol made some really, really good points in terms of resilience and Selena with transferring like the skills that you have already. And I think the main thing for myself is, or to pass on, is being open-minded. The more open-minded you are, the more people you will be able to connect with. Because a lot of the times, like you're, let's say the industry is quite fickle. So if you've got a view of what someone should look like when they work in the music industry, you're never really going to get anywhere. So for instance, take for example, I met an amazing gentleman by the name John Bunyeshi, and he does fashion, and I'm actually wearing his stuff today. And he's bringing African fashion into the Western world of high-end fashion. And to be open-minded with meeting new people, you have these conversations, and there's lots of things that you're able to then grasp during a conversation and learn from them. With events, going back to the events, when you are open-minded, you are able to, and that's why I think I'm going to make that the biggest point, because you're adaptable, you're versatile. There's many trades to entertainment and the whole stage. You're thinking about stage production. If you have an ear and if you are a creative, you kind of think you need to think about your concept, your tone of your shows, what the main agenda is. What are you trying to get out of these events? Why are you bringing a new event into London or wherever you may be in the world as a young person? And what do you aim to get out of it? I know for myself, I wanted to make sure that I'm bridging the gap between artists so we can communicate. And like Errol was saying, you never know where someone goes. And when you've built such a strong and genuine rapport with someone, yeah, you move together, and it's about us coexisting together, and yeah, creating success like that. And for us to just be happy in what we do, if we do love events and we love making people, the main thing is that we're making people excited by putting people on stage, or maybe we are on stage while we are hosting, and makes us happy, and then we're giving other people life. It's a knock-on effect with positive energy.
Absolutely. Thank you for those answers. So my final question before we go to the questions that have been asked on our YouTube channel, I can see the questions flooding in, so keep them coming. I'll answer them very shortly. Thank you for engaging with us. I want to know what advice, what's the best advice that you've been given or that you've given to anyone that wants to work in the creative industry? I'll start with you, Selena.
Oh, I was worried you were going to do that. I think recently, I'm really, really lucky. I was selected to be part of a mentoring scheme called I Like Networking. And I was paired with Gilbert Johnson, who manages Jerome Vandal. He's amazing. And he's super challenging. Every 3 weeks, he sets me homework. But one of the best pieces of advice that he's given me through this whole thing is don't assume we're going back to normal. I think lots of people are dealing with everything that's going on in the industry at the moment, thinking, oh, I've just got to coast through these next few months, and suddenly 2021, we're all going back to mass raves and our old lives. And I'd love that to be the case. Obviously, I love a good mashup. But I think realistically, we have to try and negotiate in a strategic, calm, rational way the environment that we're actually presented with. And I think that applies not just to what's happening now, but to the music industry as we continuously move through it. I'm nearly 40. When I first went into Warner Records, it was a very different world. You know, I went into a role where we were street teaming, doing guerrilla marketing, running around flyering people out on road, you know, and that would not apply now to the way that young people engage with music and how they consume it. Sometimes it's very challenging personally to keep moving with what's happening around you, because you kind of want to put your hands up and go, but I know it like this. So it's having that ability to keep changing, to understand change management processes, to really be able to be open to the environment that's around you, and not just dig your heels in and go, but this is the way it worked last time. I think one of the best things you can do is say yes. When I started Lunar Legacy 18 months ago, I had the opportunity 2 months after we started to put on a festival in Brooklyn in New York. I had never put on an event before, and my first event was on the other side of the ocean with no conception of how the contacts that I had here would materialize. I think sometimes you have to jump into these things, but do it in an organized, planned, measured way. Say yes to things, adapt to the environment you're in, and keep moving, because the industry is going to keep moving whether you want it to or not. You need to learn to be really open to it.
Absolutely. Some great points there. Errol, how about you? Some advice.
Be yourself. Be yourself. There is only one of you. There are so many people trying to make their own way in the music industry, in the events industry, in the creative industry, all with their own visions. And of course, we now live in a world here in 2020 where we're able to see everyone's visions as they're being built on social media, on the internet. And, you know, I'll be lying if I was saying myself, you know, it's very easy to look left and right and see, you know, what other people are doing and be influenced by what they're doing. And that's okay. It's okay to be influenced by what's going on, but there has to be an understanding that, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. And this is, you know, painting a picture of like, what is at the end of that tunnel? What is it that I'm trying to get to? And I think being flexible in the way in which you can get to that end goal, but also having a very clear understanding as to this is where I'm trying to get to. And that only you can do that because you're the only one with your brain. You're the only one working with a certain amount of people or these kind of people. So yeah, I've been told that multiple times by multiple different people. And I think as I've gotten a little bit older, I'm now 28 and have been in the industry for, wow, like 10 years now. I believe that that's beginning to ring true, you know, because I've seen, I've seen certain entities do things in similar ways to other people and then kind of get drowned out a little bit because you know, it was too similar to this thing, or there was something already happening in that way, you know. So I think, yeah, there will be times where it's really difficult, or you feel like, oh, is anyone really listening to what I'm doing? You know, I feel that imposter syndrome and you know, feeling not worthy sometimes when doing things is a natural part of being an artist, and I think that that's okay. And yeah, I feel like we all go through that, and I think that's important to say to young people. You know, it's not all like glitz and glamour as like social media shows us, because that's people kind of showing the best side of themselves. You know, it's like a photo album. But what we don't see is the graft and all of the hard times and all of the not failing to make money and all those things that also happen as part of of running an entity. But yeah, 100% be yourself and trust in your team.
Absolutely. Some great points there from the both of you. I think we lost Enrico. So I'm just going to move on to the questions. Oh, wait. Did I speak too soon? Enrico is back. Enrico, should I give you the last question that I asked was what advice you'd like to give? You can unmute.
Yes, I'm ready. Yes. So
Yeah.
my main thing is joy. I've got to say, like I've been saying the last time as well. Great points has been made by Errol and Selena. I'm loving that, and I'm taking that on board for myself. So yeah, I would say my main thing is about maintaining joy. Like the industry and all of this, any type of work, line of work that you're doing can suck you dry, suck your joy dry. And it's about you being able to absolutely love like doing the things that you love to do. Like you shouldn't lose fun in there. So it's about maintaining your joy. My main thing is, I don't know. Although we need to be open-minded, and it's about, yeah, that's my thing. Maintain your joy, because you've got to have longevity in what you're doing. You can't be coming in and doing it for maybe just one show and disappearing. It's something that's ongoing. You're building a brand, you're building a name, and also you're building your trust with your artists or your clients or the people you're networking. You're building that, so you have to be consistent as well. So the only way you're going to be consistent is if you maintain your joy and you're actually liking what you do. So I made that very quick, short, and sweet.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you for joining us. I've got some questions here for you guys. So stay. Well, okay, I'm going to scroll back up. Okay, Grace Turner. Thank you, Grace, for your questions. She said, I'm studying fashion communications with creative direction, but I'm interested in going into music events. How might you suggest I go about moving into this industry from where I am now? If anyone would like to jump in on that question, help Grace out. Errol?
Yeah, there was hello, Grace, firstly. Hello. And great question. It kind of chimed off for what Selena was saying earlier, in the sense that, you know, where you are at in your fashion world, there are going to be certain skills that are going to be transferable over into the creative industry. So that, for instance, might be, I don't know. I don't know too much about the fashion world in that way. I have friends in there, but like in terms of the nuts and bolts of it. But I'm sure that there, in terms of when you're, you know, creating a garment, or if I think it was fashion communications, right? Am I right in saying that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe that's more to do with, like, the marketing side. I'm not sure what the kind of like your like the nuts and bolts of what your course is or your world is, but there will definitely be things which are transferable over, you know. And even though now we are in this weird position where we can't meet people in real life, maybe it's the first step would also be to start thinking about what music world you like to occupy, and start looking at people that are kind of within that space, and maybe start reaching out as well, just with the means of being like, hey, I'm trying to get into this world. Yeah, like how can I enter? How can I learn? How can I? And I think, you know, people are obviously very busy, and you're not always going to get people that are able to share their thing, but you may get people like me who are just like, I want to just like help people where I can, where I have the capacity to do so, you know. So yeah, reach out to some people.
Great, that's great advice. Enrico, did you want to jump on that?
Yeah, and I think that's, as Errol said, it's transferable skills. With fashion, again, you've got a lot of musicians that jump into the fashion world because you've got endorsement deals and stuff. So if you are in the fashion world, I think it's a lot more easier jumping over into the artist side of things. Say, for instance, there's an event that is happening. You are booking entertainment, external entertainment besides the fashion catwalk stuff. You're able to liaise with artists. It's always good to network, like I said, finding out where the shows are, going to those events and becoming aware of what the event is and speaking to the person who runs the events. A lot of the times, let's say, for instance, when I got into events, I started off as just assisting. So I helped out with sound and went in like that, or maybe hosting, or went up doing open mic. And I was like, I really enjoy doing events. So can I come in? Can I see how it works? And a lot of people are more than likely to say yes, especially if you're doing it as maybe just on an expenses basis, expense paid basis for the first event or a couple events. But yeah, I personally believe that's quite an easy one for you to get into, and I think it's good that you're able to transfer those fashion skills over. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. So thank you for your question, Grace. Hope that helps you. We've got another question from Karis. She says, for any of the panelists, what have been your biggest challenges in this field, and what did you do to overcome these? I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but if anyone else wants to, add a point or any kind of challenges you faced, Selena?
I think it's linked to this question around networking. I think the industry generally is very tribal. People form into their groups. You see it a lot with some of the bigger events promotions companies in London. You see it within labels. And I think Errol's point and Enrico, it's really important to put yourself out there. I kind of have a new rule, which is 1 for 2. So every person that I'm introduced to through the industry, I try and say to them, can you think of 2 people that it would be helpful for me to be introduced to via you? It's continuing to expand your network, particularly at this time. Normally, people in our industry are out at gigs, we're out at networking events. I'm a member of the Music Managers Forum. I usually go there every fortnight. So you're constantly meeting new people. Now it's a bit harder because you're meeting people in Zoom rooms. Not so easy to make those direct connections. So I think it's really about making targeted, tailored approaches to people to say, look, I'm really interested in what you're doing. Flattery goes a long way. I'd love to learn more about that. Can I have a chat with you, 5 minutes, whatever? Really putting yourself out there and putting yourself in those positions, because that's where the opportunities come. You'll get some nugget of wisdom, or you'll find out about an opportunity that hasn't been advertised, or they might just really love the way that you're approaching things and think of something that you can do. My current executive assistant, I met her because she came to one of our online open mic events back in March, and then started volunteering to write for the blog and started doing things for our mailing list. And she's just become invaluable to me. So that process, you will meet new people, you will find out about new parts of the industry, and you'll learn what you really want to do. So I think that's the challenge to overcome, is to really force yourself in there a little bit and find new ways to engage with people.
Absolutely right. She did, Karis did write to you earlier, and she said, thank you for your honesty and openness. So important to acknowledge the challenges and the frustrations, but so true that this work builds so much resilience. And this is a little bit earlier. So I'm going to another question. Oh, thank you for your question, Karis. Hope that helps. Dioncia, she says she's studying media communications and cultural studies, and would some advice or direction in getting into music marketing and possibly A&R. So maybe Errol or Selena, you can help with that. Or Enrico, if you have any tips.
Errol, have you got this one? No. Okay. No, because it was directed at because you're more skilled out for this. But what I would say for A&R again, it's I think a lot of us have like a singer friends. We have a lot of singers or rapper friends, people that do produce, that we know. So think of people that you, and this is only for the A&R side of things, and maybe marketing it to a label and present it in the best way. That's what I can answer. So if anyone else, please put your hand up for the rest of it. Yeah, everyone has a friend that does music in some way or another. So if you're able to then work, it's nearly like managing artists and leading them to kind of get maybe an EP together, encouraging them to get that together for you to present it. So yeah, that's the simplest way that I can explain it, because everyone does have a musician as a friend. So just assisting them and then putting it forward to a label and then maybe bringing it forward. If also as well, if depending on Anna-Marie, is this young person in college or university, do you think? It doesn't specify.
I feel probably uni. She says media communications and cultural studies.
Okay.
So probably uni.
Okay, so and as well, I studied a degree in music business at Westminster. So a lot of the times there is internship. Did you go to it as well?
Yes, but I did politics.
Oh, okay. Was you at the Harrow campus then?
Yeah. I was in Regent Street. You were probably at Harrow.
Yeah.
That was
okay.
Like the lit side.
Anna-Marie, you distracting me.
Sorry, answer the question.
But yeah, a lot of the times there's internships, and with labels, for you to get in, it's like Selena said, everyone loves. Actually, you know what? I'll just be real. Labels will capitalize on the fact that there's some young and hungry people that want to jump into the industry and can give them some free work. Yeah. So if you're up for doing an internship, there is always ways of just applying through. Just maybe look at what label you want to look into. Look at what label you want. That don't even make no damn sense. Sorry. Look at what label that you're interested in. What umbrella? Like, let's say if it was Universal, is it Island that you're trying to go into? Where do you feel like you would find your feet in terms of style, genre, and who markets their artists in the best way? Think about those things before you do apply, so at least you know your stuff when you are saying I want to try and work out maybe doing an internship with you guys. So, and then contact them like that, because if you are coming in fresh and young from uni, you are the chosen ones. So that's it for me on that.
Love that advice. Anyone else want to jump on that? Selena?
Yeah, I would say, I think A&Ring has changed so much in the last 15 years. When I first was at Warner Records, A&Ring really meant artist development. It meant that the labels were picking their best picks up and working with them for 18 months, 2 years before they brought them to market. A&Ring really now is about, this person has a project ready to go to market. I've got them. I'm going to hand them over to you. It's a much more clean-cut business deal than it would have been in the past. I think there's I consider it a bit of a tragedy that there is this space that has been left behind around artist development, about really providing the structures and provisions that artists need to develop their sound, to understand their brand. And I think to get into that business, you really need to understand the differences in what's required of you as an individual. I think music management has really become a space where a lot of people are involved in doing that traditional A&R role. And I think certainly us at Lunar Legacy, we're just currently restructuring the business, and one of our 4 pillars is going to be artist development, because we are doing that, we're just not really articulating it. I think if that's something you want to get involved in, you have to understand, there's not a lot of money in it in the first instance. It's very much about investing in a person and their life and where you're trying to take them from and where they want to get to. People often think of music management as though you are managing, in a traditional management sense, that artist. You don't. You either work for them, or if you're very lucky, you are a business partner with them. You're almost an investor in their brand. And I think that's a big change that's happened in the industry, and you have to be prepared for that. I think you need to do a lot of reading about, by the business. Go and read it, understand how things have changed and what's necessary for you to be successful in that environment. And I think really you have to think of yourself in that context as the COO of somebody's project, and that will be a long-term investment for you and a long-term personal relationship that's going to develop over the years. So I think anything like that on the artist side of things is a lot longer engagement than it would have been in the past. Music marketing obviously is this huge burgeoning environment, and that's a different element of it. Is the labels are looking for young, hungry creatives that want to come up through that environment, but there's a million different other ways of doing it beyond the labels. You know, the breadth of music companies that are available to you now is huge. And also just get involved in the scene, like understand who the upcoming artists are, be out there checking things out, be on all the playlists that are picking up people that are emerging, and also get your name out there as a tastemaker. You know, go and ask to write for the blogs, go and submit things to playlists, because that's how you'll get your name known as somebody to come to ask for advice about who's emerging. And we're always looking for people to help us, because I'm an old goat, so I need help from most of my team who are in their early 20s to know what's going on. So yeah.
Thank you for all of that. So I hope that really helps with your question, Donisha. Moving on to Sarah. Hi, Sarah. She asks, how do you all deal with logistics of putting on events, financing, promoting, accounting, marketing, etc. post-COVID? So I think you can all have a hand in that. Who would like to go first? Errol, I see you smiling. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. No, the reason why I'm smiling is because, hey, Sarah, the reason why I'm smiling is because we're currently in the process of, I guess, legitimizing some of those things, and I guess refining and making some of those processes more efficient. I would say, firstly, that Google Sheets or Excel is your best friend. Make sure that when you are, and I think this is a great time to be doing this, by the way, considering the fact that there aren't as many outgoings, or the expenditure is different for like an online event, say, as opposed to doing something in real life. But maybe use this time to get together a Google Sheet. Think about all the things, whenever you're putting on an event, what are the things that I'm going to be spending the money on? Put them all in their little columns and rows. So things from, you know, paying the artist, to the venue hire, to if you're doing food or drinks, then that all has to be considered. You know, all of these things need to be, considered when you're putting together an event. I'm trying to remember what else to say. It was accounting. It was like the logistics. If possible, yeah, if you could keep that up, that'd be great. If possible, if you've got friends that are in a similar world to you, or that you want to work there to work with, I think it's always great to be working with a team of people who share the same fire, share the same desire. You know, they want to move in the same way, create the same spaces or similar spaces for people. And then hopefully once you have a bit of a team, and it could be 1, 2, 3, how many people it is. But I'm certainly learning that delegation is a very important skill. Now, I'll hold my hands up. I'm very much a kind of person that I like to be involved in everything, and I want to oversee it. I'm very kind of like hands-on, and, you know, yeah, I want to make sure that, like, yeah, I'm a part of everything. But one key skill that I'm definitely learning as the Touching Base team grows is that you have to trust in the people that are around you, because there's a reason why they're around you. You know, especially when you're trying to do things as a team, you realize that, you know, if you're putting out the right energy will also gravitate towards you as well. So if you're working with a team of people that are in it for the same reasons, you need to be able to trust them. You need to be able to be like, okay, cool, this is something that needs to be done. I'm going to hand it over to you, and yes, I will check in and make sure you're doing it okay and you're cool with it. But ultimately, this is your responsibility. And responsibility, accountability, they're all skills that are really, really important in working as part of a team, you know, and also being able to recognize what someone's skills are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and also for yourself, what my strengths and what my weaknesses are. Because Touching Base is kind of like a multifaceted, multiple strands to what we do. We've had to invest in an accountant. And the reason why we've done that is because I've recognized that although like I'm organized in terms of money and stuff like that, when it comes to stuff like tax return, which they should be teaching us in school, but that's a whole other subject, taxes and da da da. But when it comes to certain parts of the financial process, there are just things that are just beyond my skill level. And so this is again that whole thing of being able to delegate something to someone who that's their bread and butter. That's what they've studied. That's what they love doing. There are certain people that love to sit and just crunch numbers. That's not me, but that's what someone loves to do. And so yeah, I feel like especially at the level that we're at, we've had to invest in an accountant to basically oversee the ins and outs of the money that are coming into our company. And it might seem like quite a big expense, at least from the beginning. But when you realize the pitfalls of maybe making mistakes when it comes to filing tax and all this kind of stuff, it's actually saving you a whole bunch of money. I'm trying to think what else in terms of logistics. I would say,
if not, I can pass that question on to if Enrico or Selena have an answer for logistics.
yeah, I mean, one more thing. I would just say that in terms of when you're making an event, whether it's online or offline, set out a roadmap. So, you know, work backwards from the date where the event is supposed to be happening and work backwards. Okay, this is when this needs to be done. This is when this needs to be done, and try and work to that as well as you can. There are programs like Asana or Trello, which help in order to, you know, overlook project management and also delegation within people and working towards a schedule towards an event. Yeah, timelines.
Great, thank you. Selena and Enrico, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I just reiterate what I said. I obviously have a more extreme version of that when I was in the corporate world. I did an MSc in corporate governance. I'm a chartered secretary. So I have all of those skills around accounting, around how companies govern. And that's been really useful in terms of applying that to the fiduciary duties that you have as a director of a company, which we all have as founders. So they might seem completely irrelevant at this point in your life, but if you are doing something else at university or at college or whatever it is, they will become helpful in the future. You might not feel it now when you're drowning in studying. And I think the other thing alongside that is having a clear, if you're going to go and do an event on your own, have a clear business plan around it. Treat it as a business. Understand that you need to know what the financial streams are. What's the income? What's the costs? Is it viable? And I think a lot of people don't think about that. They just jump in because it's exciting, but actually you want to be putting some peas in your pocket at the end of the day. So I think, you know, having those structures around it is really important.
Yes, business plan, very key. Enrico, do you want to touch on that, or I'll just go on to the next question?
Mute.
Yeah, I personally believe that Errol and Selena covered it. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So Sophie, so thank you, Sarah. Sorry. Next question we've got from Sophie. Are there any particular skills or attributes to highlight in your CV and cover letters to stand out from the crowd when applying for jobs? If anyone wants to jump in. Enrico?
Just going back to the word adaptable, I think any employer wants to know what you've done. So if you can explain every single detail, even down to the things that you think is not really relevant, like answering the phones, and it will be really, really nice to showcase the different lines of experience that you have. And it could be like, I know how to clean. However, being organized and delegating and if you're putting that all in, just to know that you're adaptable is a big thing for an employer to know, that if they're going to trust you with something new, especially if you are going into a new line of work, to know that you've covered things that are probably transferable. Sometimes when we are in employment and we're trying to jump over or applying for a job, we don't realize how much experience that we do have that can cross over and be transferable. To just mention everything That was my point.
Yes, great. Just conscious of the time. We need to wrap up soon, so I'm going to ask the last question from Adam. Hi, Adam. He says, I'm a creative working across audio and events, working on my projects as well as pitching projects to companies and groups. I know a bit about project management, but I'm wondering if there are some tools, software that professional project managers use to get their work done that could be recommended. Thank you. I think Errol mentioned this earlier. You said Trello, Asana. If there's anything else, Selena, you want to touch on?
Yeah, I would say also this relates to the previous question, I think, in a way. I think if you have the opportunity to go and do formal qualifications in project management, that is really going to help you. So whether you can use online, I use Trello to manage all of my artists who hate me for it. And I also have a spreadsheet with lovely traffic lights in it so that they know where we are against priorities and deadlines. Mm-hmm. And they hate it, but it keeps them on track. But I think, like, I have a Prince 2 qualification, which I did when I was working in the corporate structure, but I still apply those principles to what I'm doing now. And I think when you're looking at employers, having what will set you apart from just saying, I've got transferable skills, is to actually show the evidence of that. And whether that's qualifications, whether that's training, or whether that's saying, oh, I did this thing and it resulted in an X percentage increase in sales, or it resulted in showing the impact of your work in your CV, in your cover letter, is going to be hugely beneficial to you, because most people are sending the same CV out to 100 employers and hoping it will stick. No one will read it. Write something that is tailored to the job that you want, that explains why you have an impact that other people won't have, and that can be evidenced by the work that you've already done. And that might seem challenging when you're first starting out, but you can go out and find those opportunities. Like I've said before, write for blogs, talk to individuals that might have opportunities for you to get involved in online events at this point. Yes, it sometimes means working for free, which you can't do under the current legislation if it's advertised as an internship, so know your rights. But there are things that you can do that are creative and that will make you stand out from the crowd. And that is going to be so important when we're going into what is ostensibly the biggest depression that we've ever seen in this country. You want to be competitive. You want to be evidence-based.
Great advice. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you everyone watching at home. So we've come to the end of our webinar today. We've had some amazing points from Selena, Errol, and Enrico. All of our social media links are here underneath the screen, so feel free to hit anyone up, follow them, and get in touch if you want a job. If you've learned something today and you think you'll be an asset to their business, then go ahead and get in touch with them. Many thanks to everyone watching. Make sure you tune in to our IG live at 5 p.m. tonight for some inspiration and some cool content from our Wired for Music members. And my name has been Anna-Marie. I'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up the final day of Youth Voice Week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a bit.